Barcelona will come up against Porto tonight in a very important Champions League clash. And in this video, we're going to take a look at some of the things we need to get right and avoid if we want to win this game at all. So you can see this video kind of like a tactical analysis from the previous game against Rayo / preview for the game against Porto, right? So before we get into all of that, however, please do subscribe to the channel, as that's going to help us a lot to get the family to grow. We upload 3 times a week, and I will also be linking a Facebook page down below because I do want to get interaction and involved with you guys a lot more. So let's start with Barcelona's build-up to see how they actually did this, because I feel like Xavi brought some changes. So in the build-up phase, just like every other team, Rayo actually looked to press extremely high, trying to sit on the pivots, trying to block down the middle, and they caused Barcelona a lot of trouble. But we did see a very flat midfield three from Xavi, to receive the ball in between the lines. And this forced Rayo to defend very narrow, and the centre backs could actually receive the ball in the half space, trying to go with the triangles with the pivot on that side, the centre back and the full back. And I really love how wide the centre backs were in this instance. It was stretching Rayo, and you can also see that the midfield three, Oriol, Frenkie and Pedri, was very wide, and this could leave one of them to actually run to the ball and actually go get onto the ball unmarked, right? In this case, it's Pedri, and because Romeo and Frenkie were marked. Frenkie made a big difference to Barcelona's fluidity, because we know that Pedri was drifting in between the lines and Romeo at times were also in the half space. But for the most part, he stayed back because he was of course the second pivot. And Balde, of course, was going to be the width keeper, but for the most part, he stayed back. And we saw Ferran Torres linking up with Robert Lewandowski, and this made Rayo defend extremely narrow and sit in that low block, right, to block any passing lanes to Barcelona. And therefore, we saw that Frenkie had to become like a centre-back. And I've been saying this all along, Frenkie needs to play as an auxiliary centre-back, and Pedri can easily cover for him in that instance. So that's something that Xavi should really look at. Because of Rayo's central pressure, Xavi switched position with Frenkie de Jong and Inigo, because it was very difficult for the strikers now to cover the space because they were so wide. And they had to keep structure, so they had to stay centrally. And Frenkie de Jong could easily go out wide and pull the wingers or the central midfielders out of position and even beat them. And this is how Xavi made Frenkie man of the match, because, the guy is great at what he's doing and Xavi knows how to use him. This is the changes I would have made. You, of course, see Frenkie de Jong in his position. Then you see Romeo and Pedri ahead of him. But instead of having Romeo, I would have had Fermin. And then you would actually have Cancelo where Romeo is right now. And then you have Fermin where Cancelo is right now. Then you still have a midfield trio, because, Cancelo can play like that. The centre backs were extremely wide, and I like this. This is how you can stretch the opposition. And with the luxury of having Cancelo, we still had a midfield trio, right? But instead of Romeo, I would have picked Cancelo. That is just how it is. And Frenkie can join the midfield again. And you can see Cancelo is actually very disciplined to go like back to his position like a back four, to outnumber the opposition. And this is the kind of things that I think that Xavi should be looking at for this Porto game. However, it's a time that we move Frenkie de Jong to his single pivot position, because, the way the guy played against Rayo, right? He can be a single pivot, but I'm still concerned with Balde's positioning. What on earth is Balde doing? Let me know down in the comment section, We could even have Cancelo in the half space with Gundogan going back next to Frenkie, because I do want these two together, right? Remember, I said we need to have our creative players next to each other. And Frenkie de Jong can split like a third center back when we need it, right? When we need it. Or you could easily have Balde go forward, and then you have Frenkie de Jong and Cancelo next to each other. So you can have a 3-2-5 or a 2-3-5 situation anytime with the mobility that Frenkie de Jong actually displays when he's on the pitch. So there's so many options that Xavi has actually. We don't have a problem, we don't have an excuse, because we do have the guys, right? And there's ways that you can do things. There's a great imbalance, especially on the left side of Barcelona. Because of our double pivot, we only really have Pedri that's drifting, right? So whichever side he drifts to, he can form a triangle on that particular side, right? But what about the other side? Let's say he drifts to the left side, right? Then you have Lamine and Cancelo alone on the other side, having to back each other up, right? There's nobody in that half space. And then many a times we have Robert Lewandowski having to vacate his position and leave the number 9 position because Pedri is not running into that position again, right? So this is the kind of things that we have problems with. So particularly on the left side, right? We saw that Romeo was actually trying to be there, but for the most part he stayed back. And Pedri loves operating on the right side, and that leaves Ferran Torres and Balde alone. And these guys are not really good in one-on-one situations, and we have two of them on one side. So that tells you a lot. You can understand Ferran's positioning, but look at Balde, terrible positioning and decision making. He should be on the shoulder of that defender very wide, because the midfield is actually trying to build up, right? And he doesn't have the tactical discipline to keep the width. Look at for an example here, we have Pedri on the right side with Balde and Ferran. Now you have Cancelo and Lamine Yamal on the other side. And now they're only 2 against 3. And now you actually have Robert Lewandowski maybe having to go into that space on that half space right there to even things out. That imbalance creates numerical advantages for the opposition. And this is what you guys don't understand. Look at where's Ferran. Look at where's Balde. I mean, come on. He should at least be on the touchline, hugging the touchline, right? And we are not creating a lot of quality chances because of this, right? And look at this for an example. Look at where's Balde and look at where's the space. I imagine Ferran is on the touchline here. He should run into that space because that is what Cancelo do, and you can see in a minute. And Balde does not have the judgment to do that. Like, look at Balde's positioning. Like, we know that Ferran was going to invert and be close to Robert Lewandowski, right? So we have 4 players centrally. Why on earth is Balde so deep? He should be like with Lamine Yamal in a line, right? Because he's the guy keeping the width, because that is how Barcelona plays. Ferran, is he going to be there? Or Balde? It's confusing. On the right side, you will have much more discipline when you have 3 8s, right? You have Pedri, Cancelo, and Fermin, right? Lamine, excuse me. So this is what happens, when Lamine comes inside, he cuts inside, he draws players with him. Cancelo has a lot of space to overlap. Do you ever see Balde do that? Maybe he does it, but it's not effective because nothing comes from that left side, right? Him and the free 8 can easily then pull players together and out of position, and then that leaves Lamine one-on-one with his players on the edge of the box, right? And if that player goes close to Lamine Yamal, then we see many a times Cancelo doing underlapping runs, right? I just saw you a second ago that he didn't do that, and then you get into positions where you can cross the ball. So that is what Balde is not doing. So you see the triangle over here, they can pass to each other, right? The player that has the ball has 2 options, but on the left side, Ferran has to pass to Balde, Balde has to pass to Ferran, right? Because we have a double pivot. And this is the conundrum. Look at how when the player actually wants to go to Lamine, look at the space in behind for Joao Cancelo to run into. And guys, this is why I'm saying we don't need a double pivot. We need to play this way. And look at how close this guy actually plays with Lamine Yamal, and you saw how far away Balde was from Ferran Torres. And I don't know if Xavi is telling him to do this or play like this, right? Look at how Joao Cancelo is running across, trying to play this guy to get him on side, and at the same time, look at how far away Balde is. Balde should be keeping the width, and this is the problem we have with a double pivot. This is the kind of problems that we need to address when we play Porto tonight, because at the end of the day, it's the imbalances that actually bring us down, because players and teams now have numerical advantages over Barcelona. Isn't that what tiki-taka is about? However, do let me know down in the comment section, what do you guys think about all of this? I love hearing about you. We're going to drop the tactical analysis tomorrow from Porto and Barcelona. And as always, please do subscribe to the channel. If you are new around here, we upload a lot of Barcelona's content, only Barcelona, and we only do tactical content. Thank you very much for watching this video. It's nice being back. Thank you very much. Goodbye.